What is up, girls and gays? It's Jasmine Kylene, and I am here to talk about Venus moving into Pisces because nothing has ever been more important. The reason why nothing has ever been more important is because I am a natal. I was going to say Pisces and Venus and Pisces. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hello. So Venus is returning home for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it feels like to be in my inner world, because that is essentially what we're going to be feeling for the next few weeks. And this is the best thing that could happen to us. I say that about a lot of different transits, but like this particular shift in energy is going to be so nurturing for our souls. So I'm so excited to talk about it, but I hope you guys are all well. Let me know how April and Aries season is treating you. I do want to first off say that last new moon was a powerful one. And I think the reason why it was so powerful, outside of the fact that it was sort of like ushering in this newness, right? I talked a lot about how that was in a lot of ways like the astrological new year, but also it was aspecting Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. And it'll kind of bring to the surface the parts of us that is hypersensitive and the wounds that kind of exist from the deepest core of our beings. And so that's a heavier energy to process as we're entering a new era. But I think that juxtaposition was really helpful because I think we are still kind of in the energy of being introduced to perhaps the fears or the wounds that we've built really deep stories in, and maybe even centered a bit of our identities in experiencing. And we're also experiencing and witnessing that alongside this introduction into who we could be if we choose to allow ourselves to step into this new chapter, which I think is really important because you want to make sure that you're not bringing in baggage from stories that you have written about yourself. And it's so important to note that the traumas and the experiences that we've had that have hurt us, it is absolutely valid to experience the catharsis when it comes to expressing that pain. Thank you for joining. But you do have permission to let yourself move on from it. You do have permission to build an identity outside of what has happened to you. And so we're kind of being thrown in the middle of like, what has happened to you? How have you built an identity around it? And how can you let yourself move on from the story and actually create a new chapter for yourself? So that's a little bit about like the energy that we've have been experiencing, we could still be in. But Venus moving into Pisces is really going to shift radically just how we move forward. And so the first thing that I want to say is that Venus has been just like in the reins of Saturn for some time. So if things let me know how the energy has been for you, but if things have been heavier or tougher, that has a lot to do with it. And it's completely freed from that like hold that Saturn had on it. And Venus is at its most happy when it's in the sign of Pisces. And that is going to bleed into not only how we experience our relationships, but also just how we like navigate life moving forward. There's going to be a really pretty lens put through life. Oh, thank you for joining, my queen. My love. There's going to be well, I'm pretty sure, Tara, you're also like a natal. I keep wanting to say Pisces and Venus and Pisces. So you're probably feeling this shift in energy as well. But it's really going to be sort of like a filter that we look at life through. And so the first thing that I want to say is so important to recognize in what ways could you be honoring perhaps delusion or illusion when it comes to your romantic partnerships, the things in your life, right? We want to utilize this energy to lose ourselves in our daydreams and really build a life from this place of I get to dream up the largest vision of my life and immerse myself in the feeling of that vision and like bring it to life, right? Venus and Pisces is all about daydreams, but you do want to make sure that you are remaining grounded and that you aren't losing yourself in looking at life through such a rose-colored lens that you don't see the red flags. You and me both, my queen, absolutely. So the first thing I want to say is that yes, you may still be feeling overwhelmed by Chiron. I think moving into Venus and Pisces, there is going to be such an emotional release that is both cathartic but also overwhelming. So be gentle with yourself if you're finding yourself really being emotionally expressive, responding to things emotionally, and also just like feeling so much. There's a lot of feeling that's happening right now. So really making sure that you have a grounded practice to return to amidst all of the feeling that you could be constantly in a state of expressing right now. Our sensories are really going to be sensory overload / our senses are really going to be overstimulated right now in a way that is gorgeous when it comes to if you are someone who's creative. Really honor your creative expression right now, because there's this fertile energy to make music that feels deeply, and to move your body in a way that's really intuitive, to really return to the arts in a way that is new, not only from a creative space, but also just like from a consumer base, really recommit to creation, production, and also like absorbing and enjoying and indulging in art right now. This is like a renaissance when it comes to our creative expression. But yeah, our senses are really going to be sensitive right now, which means let yourself stimulate those senses, right? Try new foods, listen to new music, really like express yourself creatively when it comes to honoring your senses, but also just make sure that you have some sort of grounding practice whenever you do feel overwhelmed. This can be a really overstimulating time period. So yes, come back to community and connection. That's going to be great too, and I'll talk more about that. But also make sure that like you have your time to return to self, to return to grounding, to return to earth. Yeah, so like I said, as far as like a warning goes, just make sure that you're not romanticizing the things that actually, could be not the best for you. But honestly, after being dominated by Saturn for like so many long months, beauty, pleasure, adornment, touch, connection, just your senses are going to be so heightened for these weeks. And it is so important that you allow yourself to enjoy that. And the prompt that I actually shared on the page today was, are you in a state of attracting or in a state of chasing? Because when we have Venus not only being in Pisces, but meeting Jupiter in Pisces, there is this element of like just ease and flow when it comes to manifesting and to inviting in blessings. And it's so important that you allow yourself to receive that. Sometimes the only thing that is standing in the way of you manifesting the thing that you want is you feeling deserving of manifesting the thing that you want, or allowing yourself to receive it unconditionally. Sometimes I think, and this is, I'm speaking from experience, I think that I need to do something in order to deserve something. So like, have I been productive enough? Have I worked on healing that one thing that is keeping me from having the relationship that I want? Or like, what is it that I need to do? What is the currency or the exchange that I need to give in order to receive my blessing? And also I find that I get really trapped in my mind if I make a mistake, or if I, me trying to hide I was trying to pick off okay, don't look at my nails. It's very not Pisces Venus in me. But yes, I will get mad at myself if I think that I make some sort of like energetic mistake, and that I'm blocking myself from receiving what I'm meant to deserve. And it's funny because me worrying about my worrying is what's standing in the way of me receiving my blessing, versus me recognizing the fact that who I am innately is already deserving, and that as I'm navigating this human experience, inevitably there's going to be moments when I, repel, or when I, get trapped in like my human thoughts or my egoic way of being. But that doesn't mean that the things that you deserve, the fruits of existence, aren't on their way to you anyway. So just, I say all that to say, allow yourself to be in a state of attracting what you are trying to manifest by realizing that you're just deserving of it innately, and that like the universe can gift you things just because. There doesn't necessarily need to be like a reward for all of the healing that you've done or all of the work that you've done. Of course, the fruits of your labor are going to bloom regardless, especially if you've really been committed to self-development and self-exploration and self-expansion. But ultimately, sometimes you're just going to get to have things because here you are and you've made it this far, So like, let this be the season where you just receive from the soul, just from the fruit of existing, right? We love that for us. Yeah, like your homework is to just let yourself do bare minimum and receive from that bare minimum, and immerse yourself in the beauty of your now. So what I would really hone in on for this transit is get or let yourself get lost in your daydreams the way you did as a kid. If there's anything a Pisces Venus person in your life can tell you, it is that we have the most fun when we allow ourselves to exist in the fake scenarios of our mind, but that so much from our life is born from that fake scenario world that we allow ourselves to immerse ourselves in, because it's not just seeing what we want, but it's really immersing ourselves in the feeling of what it is when we receive it, when we're in that fantasized relationship, or where our career is at its largest, or, whatever it is that we're seeing for ourselves, we immerse ourselves in the feeling of it. And I would really invite you to dance with that during the season, because that is going to be how you really call in the things that the universe is wanting to gift you. But also, what's beautiful about this transit is that it's also going to heighten and turn up the vibrancy on what your now looks like. So as you are losing yourself in your daydreams, and rightfully so, also make sure that you are paying attention to how beautiful the arrival of self is right now. And that is essentially how we're going to be in that state of attracting versus chasing, right? Because if we are so overstimulated by how gorgeous the current state of being that you're standing in is, you are going to vibrationally align with what it is that you want to attract, right? So if you are wanting to attract a relationship, but you are so hyper-focused on sort of like the chilling discomfort of your current solitude, you're only going to attract more of that discomfort versus losing yourself in the fantasy of the largest version of love that you desire, while also seeing how ripe it is to be in your own company and to be in such a healthy place with your own company, right? So vibrationally aligning how you look at your current now with how delicious you know what you are daydreaming into bringing into your life is as well. I hope that makes sense. I threw a lot of words in there that weren't necessary. Essentially, can you see the gorgeousness of your now that also matches the gorgeousness of what you are calling in? And can you make sure that you're paying attention to both and that you're kind of like, time isn't real, guys. I hate to break it to you, but if you just look at all of them as existing in one plane, you can call them in all the more viscerally. So yeah, immerse yourself in the beauty of your now while daydreaming about the largest version of your life. Daydream. Honestly, make and commit to a routine of daydreaming, whether it's in the morning or before you go to sleep, while you masturbate. Honestly, just make sure that you are committing to visualizing in a way that's intentional and a way that's expansive and large, right? Because we have Venus, but we also have Jupiter in the sign of Pisces. So, Jupiter wants to blow up everything that it touches. And so, and it's funny because we're going to have Jupiter conjoining Neptune in a way that the last time this happened was in 1856. And the next time it'll happen again is 2188. This is huge. And so I'll be coming on, I'll probably be hosting something for that because it's so insane. But like, we are basking in really magical energy, guys. And so I really just need you to let yourself receive the blessings that you unconditionally deserve. B, really immerse yourself in daydreaming about the largest, most delicious version of your life. And you want to make sure, especially when we're working with Pisces, that deliciousness is not egoic or human stance, but rather like, what does it mean to have connections that are fulfilling, that are soul-led, that are soul-based? What does it mean to do work that fulfills you on a large level? Like really commit to what does it mean to live a life where all of my senses are safe and stimulated and fulfilled, rather than like, I have this 9-to-5 job that feels really good, right? And it doesn't mean that a job can't actually be that soul fed thing, but just making sure that you are really hyper focusing on what do you want to feel like as you live the largest version of your life, rather than like what does it look like on a status level. And so immerse yourself in these daydreams, commit to your daydreams, commit to a routine where your daydream is like part of either your meditative practice, your morning practice, your nighttime practice, while also recognizing, okay, when I'm in that daydream and I am immersed in this relationship that I want so badly, that feels so good, that feels so safe, when you kind of come back to when you're in this present moment, in this present state, how can you connect that same feeling into what your current reality is? And if you are someone, and this is just an example, but like this bleeds into everything, but if you are someone right now who's in a period of solitude, how can you see the beauty of honoring and finding your own company so sacred that you kind of vibrationally align with exactly what it is that you were daydreaming to call into your life, right? Making sure that you are not, that we melt this like linear way of looking at time by vibrationally aligning with exactly what it is that we're calling in, and then letting ourselves receive it. Know that like, of course, the more that we commit to our self-development, the more that we honor and we receive the fruits of our labor, but also just like you are already deserving of it. And I think that is the largest lesson that we can learn under this transit, under Venus and Pisces, is how can I just let myself already be enough? I think when we get so committed to this healing journey, we see a version of ourselves that we want to arrive at. And once we arrive at that version of ourselves, then we'll be healed enough to have the relationship that we want, or we'll be successful enough to get that job opportunity. And it's like, or you're just a human being with access to such an abundant amount of joy and love that you are just innately deserving of because you are here. And there's like more than enough to go around, and like you can already do it, and you can grow through the experience of having it rather than like needing to grow into the full version of yourself in order to receive it. Like it can all happen at once. I hope that makes sense. I mean, I hope it does, but just, yeah, there's no version of yourself that you need to arrive at, or there's no thing that you have to do in order to get what you want. Like you can have it now. The only thing that's standing in the way of it is you letting yourself feel like you're worth having it now. Hi, thank you for joining, my queen. So yes, vibrationally align with what you are desiring by noticing how it already exists in your present moment. Yeah, really, really, really commit to honoring all of your senses right now. So listen to new music, visit new places in nature, watch new kinds of movies. Make sure that you are creating, and also absorbing. Like community connection is also really beautiful right now, because we're really honoring soul connection in a really beautiful way, on a platonic level, on a romantic level, on a familial level. So like honor the soul connections in your life by returning to them, but also knowing that we're still in this really hypersensitive space, right? When our senses are so overstimulated, we're going to be expressing and experiencing our sensitivities a bit more heightened. So you want to make sure that you have a grounding practice to return to, especially because, like I said, we're still processing Chiron getting hit during that new moon. So like if you're feeling extra raw and you're feeling like, I'm crying a little bit more easily than usual, or like I'm really looking at some wounds that I wasn't really looking at before, honor that by having a grounding practice to return to, but also having a safe space to express what's coming up right now, because our Chiron getting activated that's something that is so intentional when it comes to, if you really do want to move into this new chapter of your life, you have to recognize which tragedies you built a story in, and how you can finally just release those by witnessing them, by acknowledging them, by crying through them, by releasing the identity that you built in them. And I think that's mainly it. I'll obviously come back to talk about what's going on the 12th. Hi, my queen. Thank you for joining. Hannah Banana. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on the 12th, because that is a cray balls transit that I would really recommend we work with. So I'll definitely lead something for that. But yeah, otherwise, like I said, you could perhaps be more sensitive, but also with sensitivity comes intuition. So recognize the ways in which you are feeling a little bit more intuitively communicative these days, and honor that as well. Expect more harmony, creativity, and romanticism. And yeah, just have fun with this transit. This is what it's like to be in my inner world, guys. So just make the world your dollhouse and dress it up. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. And I'll see you for the 12th. Oh, that's what I look like. Okay. Have a good one.